Hey everyone, thought I would chat a little bit about my cart build. This is for my 4.5 horsepower United, which is right over here. Did a video of it a while ago, almost a year ago actually, so if you're interested you can check that out. It's a pretty heavy engine. I needed a cart to move it around, so I bought some steel for about $200, and you can see there's some of the wheels that I've made. I have a 4-part series on how I made these wheels. We've got one more to make. I've got one set out here to sort of give you an idea of what it looks like. I used C-channel for the frame and all the cross members. It measures 5 inches tall by about 1.75 inches wide, and I got it from the local steel yard. What I did for the ends, I didn't want blank ends. I thought it was kind of boring. So what I ended up doing, I cut out a square section of the webbing here, and then I used a cutting wheel for that on my angle grinder. Then I used my acetylene torch and heated up just here and beat it with a hammer over here and bent this down. Then I did the same thing with the other side, got them to touching, and then I ran a weld bead there so it's nice and smooth, and I ground it smooth. So now it's got these little bumpers on it, and I think it gives it an extra little something to look at, another dimension. And then there's 4 cross members. There's one on each the very end. The axles will be mounted to those. And then these closer in cross members, the engine will sit on. The engine's also going to sit on just these rails, but it'll also sit on the cross members as well. I did that partly because unfortunately the channel, this C channel, isn't quite wide enough for me to drill a hole to mount the here's the base of the engine. The hole would have to be drilled like right about there rather than in the middle, so I needed something to drill into off to the side a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I put those cross members there, also just for more rigidity. And that's really about it. The trickiest part with this is just keeping everything square and straight as you're welding it. If you've done any sort of welding like this, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, if you're about to build a cart like this, make sure to tack everything before you weld it. Use some of those magnetic triangles. Use a lot of them, and use a square, a sliding square, a carpenter square, something like that. Clamps, everything you can to clamp everything where you want it. Check all the angles, make sure everything's 90 degrees, and then run some nice fat tack welds on all of the joints, on both sides of each joint, and then start welding. Weld the shortest welds first. For example, with this joint here, welding this piece to this piece, I used the triangles in here to keep everything 90 degrees. I verified it with a square, and then I tack welded. First I tack welded about right there maybe, and then I went to the other side and tack welded there. Then I came over here and I tack welded up there. Then I came over and tack welded there. And as the tack welds cool and shrink, they should shrink evenly, and this should stay 90 degrees. And if it did, I welded the short welds first. I welded in here and up there, and then there, and then on the other side of that. and that would prevent this piece from wobbling as I welded in there and the seam back on the back side. But if this was a little cockeyed after tack welding it, I would use the weld bead shrinkage to my advantage. Let's say that this piece was tilted in too much, so this angle was less than 90 degrees. I want to pull this cross piece towards me, so I would weld this bead first and then let it cool, and then as it cools it would shrink, that weld bead would shrink and pull this towards me, and then I would weld the back side. And that seemed to work pretty well for me. Might not be the complete kosher correct way, but it worked well enough. But tack weld everything first. Make sure everything's square, and then run your weld bead, and everything should stay square. That's it. Stay tuned for more. I'll do a video about how I go about making the axles, the spindle, and the pivot point, the fifth wheel pivot point for the steering axle. Thanks for watching.